Sacramento from New Jersey.
I had been a member of YFL for about 10 years, with the last 3 dedicated to being a program volunteer for New Jersey. Until finally God was calling me to move on. And it wasn't because I fell out of love with the youth, nor did I fall out of love with the service for them, because to be honest, where's New Jersey? You taught me how to love. And that's what helped me have the strength to move on to the next phase of life, to where God was calling me to serve. And where that place was to become a full-time volunteer for a Catholic ministry, Bon Secours Volunteer Ministry in West Baltimore, for about a year. And I remember at that time when I was praying and trying to figure out what I was going to do after graduating, a brother from Seattle told me he had a vision that God was calling me to serve somewhere. And he didn't know where it was, but it wasn't in New Jersey. And I was so happy, and the people were happy. And I was just like, okay, this is an affirmation. Where God's calling me next is where I need to be. So I left everything, never have been away from home until this time, and I went. And I had that feeling in my heart that, okay, maybe I can be like those people in those pamphlets where you'd have like an impoverished child or something and you're feeding them and you're all happy. And I was romanticizing the poor. But what I experienced when I went to West Baltimore was completely the opposite of anything I would have imagined. Everyone was so broken. The patients that we served, over 156 of them, were addicts, former convicts, people who have been so disappointed with life that they just didn't care anymore. There was no love. And when I came in there all happy and optimistic, so full of love, the staff shot me down. I walked in to them making bets about when I was going to leave, because they said there's no way this little girl is going to survive West Baltimore. The patients would sneer at me. I tried to help patients my first day with their wheelchairs, and all they did was just curse at me. Every single day, they made it hard for me. No one, not even a single person, was willing to let me take a chance on these patients, to love them, to spread God's love. And it did break me a little bit. Coming to a home where my roommates didn't have the same faith that I did, I didn't have the support I had when I was back in New Jersey. But God really provided. I called my family and said, guys, get ready, I'm coming home after the 3rd day. And they said, you know, you're always welcome home, but just wait it out. Just see where God's calling you. And the youth, they made me this little book before I left. And one of the sisters wrote in there, Kat, in the moments where you feel like you don't have love, where you feel like God isn't there, remember that you are. And I cherish them for that, for giving me that strength to say, you know what, nothing can break my spirit. Where God is calling me is where I need to be, and He'll provide from there. So I went back to the hospital, and still every day hardships were abound. But I prayed and prayed and prayed and challenged myself, spent each day with one of the patients. And I prayed to God, give me that opportunity. Give me an opportunity to love your people, because that's why I'm here. And it came in the form of a blizzard. Baltimore was hit with about 6 feet of snow, 6 to 10 they were calling it. And one morning I just woke up and I said, and all my roommates were just gonna stay home for the day, but God moved me and said, get out, go outside. So all I had were a pair of rain boots, a snowsuit that I never wore before, and I walked to the hospital. It took me an hour to get there in a blizzard. And I didn't understand the whole way. I was thinking, oh, this is so stupid, what am I doing? But God really had a purpose for that, because when I got into the hospital, I had found out that almost half the staff were stranded in their homes. There were patients stranded in the hospital. And so I picked up the phone, called Maryland Transportation, and begged them to pick up our patients, to bring them there, to take them home. I struggled, I don't know where I got the energy from, but all day long, just making sure their blankets were warm, that the food was still hot, giving things out to them. And it was then in that moment, as I stayed overnight with them and just tucked them in, it was then that they realized why I was really there. That they could tell that the posture of my heart was truly to love them. And I praise God for that moment, because if I didn't allow Him to give me that strength, I wouldn't have experienced the kind of love that I did last year when I was serving them. And in time, as I stayed with the patients and prayed with them, we developed real relationships where they started divulging their deepest and darkest secrets to me. One of my patients even told me about how his brother had shot him, never forgave him for it, and he just broke down in my arms crying. And we prayed together. And then one of the staff members came up to me and they said, "Do you know that for 5 years this patient has been here and they've only said two words to anyone in the staff?" And that's when I knew God was truly working. And it wasn't because of me. It was because God wanted love to be there. And so he simply used me for it. I praise God every moment for that experience there. And I know that all we have to do is just say yes. Just say yes to God, and no matter how insecure we are, and he'll take that yes and transform it and bring love and bring strength to you when you don't think you'd have it. But after I went back to New Jersey, I thirsted for more. I'd experienced real love in the truest sense of it by serving God's people, but I no longer felt that connection with the youth to worship with them in that same way, because now I was already having a full-time job, taking on new responsibilities and things like that. And ultimately, God led me to join a CLS and to become a member of SLF New Jersey. I mean SFL New Jersey. Still getting used to the name. But it's just an amazing feeling to be able to transition from one familiar community to the other, to really be with your brothers and sisters who understand you, who know you, who love you, who know what your heart is about. And to learn from these wise brothers and sisters who are older than me, who know how to balance their lives, who know, who have allowed God to touch their lives in the new transitions that life is taking them on. So I urge you, my brothers and sisters in YFL, don't be nervous about transitioning. If you feel God is calling you to more, to greatness, to experience that, then allow him to fill you with that strength. Let him amaze you with the ways he can transform your life. Thank you.